The vast emptiness of space around the Talvor star system had been quiet for 3 years. No ships came in. No messages went out. The silence worried the Galactic Council, the massive government that ruled over thousands of worlds across the galaxy. Talvor was important. 12 planets circled its sun, and most of them were rich with metals, crystals, and other resources that the galaxy needed. But now nothing. Just silence. Commander Thelva stood on the bridge of his warship, staring at the view screen. He was a Vorlax, a species known throughout the galaxy for their military power. His gray skin was covered in armor plates, and his 4 eyes scanned the readings in front of him. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations, their claws clicking against the controls. "We're approaching the outer edge of the system," one officer reported. "Still no response to our signals." Thelvas growled low in his throat. 3 years ago, the last mining colony in Talvor sent a simple message saying they were closing their communication arrays for maintenance. Since then, nothing. The Council wanted answers. More importantly, they wanted to claim this system for themselves if it truly was abandoned. "Prepare the scanning arrays," Thelvas ordered. "I want to know everything about this system before we go deeper." The fleet consisted of 12 ships, a standard investigation force. They moved forward slowly, their sensors reaching out into the darkness. What they found made everyone on the bridge freeze. "Commander," the sensor officer said, his voice shaking slightly. "There's something out there. A grid of satellites, thousands of them, surrounding the entire system." Thelvas leaned forward. "What kind of satellites?" "Unknown design. But they're active. They're watching us." Before Thelvas could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up with a warning. A massive energy field had appeared, stretching across space like an invisible wall. The ship slowed to a stop, their engines straining against something they couldn't see. "It's a gravity well," another officer shouted. "Multiple gravity wells. They're all around us." Far away, deep inside an asteroid in the outer belt of the Talvor system, Daewon sat in front of a wall of screens. His fingers moved quickly across the holographic controls, watching the alien fleet struggle against the defensive systems. He was young for someone with so much responsibility, only 32, but he had been training for this moment his entire life. "They're trying to push through the gravity wells," he said into his communicator. "Should I activate the next layer?" On the other end, a calm voice responded. It was Hana, the woman who coordinated all of Talvor's defensive operations. She sat in a control room carved into the solid rock of Talvor 4, the largest planet in the habitable zone. Around her, dozens of other humans monitored different sections of the system. "Not yet," Hana said. She tucked a strand of her black hair behind her ear and studied her own screens. "Let them see what we have. Let them understand they can't just walk in here." Daewon nodded, even though she couldn't see him. He had known Hana since they were children, growing up in the underground cities of Talvor. Back then, the adults had told them stories about Earth, about the beautiful blue planet where humanity was born. But Earth was gone now, destroyed by a stellar event that no one could have predicted. The survivors had fled into space, running from system to system until they found Talvor. That was 150 years ago. Since then, humans had been building, hiding, and preparing. On the Vorlax command ship, Thelvas was losing his patience. "Send a probe through. I want to know what's making these gravity wells." A small probe launched from the ship, its engines pushing it toward the invisible barrier. It made it less than a kilometer before every system on board shut down. The probe went dark, floating in space like a dead fish. "What happened?" Thelvas demanded. "Electromagnetic pulse, sir." "Very precise. The probe is intact, but it's completely dead." Thelvas felt something he rarely experienced: unease. Whatever had built these defenses knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't some automatic system left behind by accident. Someone was controlling it. Someone was watching them right now. Then every screen in the fleet lit up at once. A face appeared, a human face, though Thelvas didn't know that yet. The man on the screen looked to be in his 50s, with gray in his dark hair and calm, intelligent eyes. He wore simple clothes, not a military uniform. "I am Hyunwoo," the man said in perfect Galactic Common, the language used by the Council. "I speak for the people of the Talvor system. This system is under our protection. You have entered our space without permission. State your purpose." Thelvas felt his mouth fall open. Humans? The species that was supposed to be extinct? He had seen records of them in the ancient databases. a species whose world had been destroyed generations ago. The council had assumed none survived. I am Commander Thelvas of the Vorlax Empire, representing the Galactic Council, he said, recovering quickly. We are here to investigate why this system has been silent for 3 years. If you are claiming this territory, you must present your case to the council and follow proper protocols. Hyunwoo smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We don't answer to your council, Commander. Talvor belongs to us. We have lived here for 150 years. We built everything you see, and we will defend it if necessary. You can't just claim an entire star system, Thelvas argued. The council has laws, rules. You must follow them or face consequences. Your laws don't apply to us, Hyunwoo said simply. But we're not unreasonable. We're willing to talk. You may send a small delegation to Talvor 4. 3 people, no more. Come unarmed. We'll show you what we've built here, and then you can report back to your council. Thelvas wanted to refuse, wanted to order his fleet to break through the defenses by force, but something told him that would be a very bad idea. Whoever these humans were, they had technology he didn't understand. Better to see what they had before making any military decisions. I accept your invitation, he said finally. I will come myself along with 2 others. Good, Hyunwoo said. Coordinates are being sent to your ship now. We'll see you in 6 hours. The screen went dark. Thelvas immediately contacted the other ships in his fleet. Along with the Vorlax vessels, there was one ship from the Ithran Collective, a species known for their love of knowledge and science. He decided to bring Vesrin, an Ithran scholar, along with one of his own security officers. As his shuttle prepared for the journey to Talvor 4, Thelvas reviewed everything he knew about humans. It wasn't much. They had been a young species, barely beginning to explore their own solar system when their sun went through some kind of catastrophic event. The record said there were evacuation ships, but they had disappeared into deep space. Everyone assumed they had died out there in the dark. Clearly, everyone was wrong. The shuttle descended through Talvor 4's atmosphere. The planet looked normal from orbit, with blue oceans and green continents. But as they got closer, Thelvas saw something strange. There were very few structures on the surface. No cities, no spaceports, just forests and grasslands. Where is everyone? His security officer asked. They got their answer when the shuttle was guided to a landing pad that rose up from underground. As they stepped out, a door opened in the ground, revealing a massive tunnel leading down into the planet. A human woman waited for them. She wore a uniform of some kind, dark blue with silver trim, and carried no visible weapons, but she moved like a soldier, her eyes constantly scanning for threats. Welcome to Talvor 4, she said. I'm Jiwon. I'll be your escort. Please follow me. They descended into the tunnel and Thelvas felt his breath catch. The tunnel opened into an enormous underground city. Buildings rose up in terraces carved from the living rock and reinforced with metal. Lights glowed everywhere, powered by some source he couldn't identify. Thousands of humans moved through the streets below, going about their lives. This is just one city, Jiwon said, noticing their stunned expressions. We have 18 more on this planet alone, and colonies on 7 other worlds in the system. Thelvas did the math in his head. If each city held even a few million people, then there were tens of millions of humans living in this system, an entire civilization, hidden underground where no one thought to look. They had been preparing for this moment, he realized. Preparing for the day when the galaxy found them again, and now that day had come. G1 led the 3 aliens deeper into the underground city. Thelvas kept looking around, trying to take in everything at once. The streets were clean and organized. People walked past them, some stopping to stare at the aliens with curiosity, but no one seemed afraid. Children played in parks carved out of the rock, their laughter echoing off the stone walls. How long did it take to build all this? Vesrin asked. The Ithran scholar's 6 arms gestured excitedly at the buildings around them. Unlike Thelvas, who saw everything as a potential military threat, Vesrin saw wonder. We've been building for 150 years, Jiwon replied. Every generation added more. The first humans who arrived lived in small shelters, barely surviving. But they had a plan. They knew that if humanity was going to survive, we needed to stay hidden and build our strength. They entered a transport station where sleek vehicles waited on magnetic rails. Jiwon guided them into one, and it shot forward through tunnels at incredible speed. Through the windows, Thelvas caught glimpses of factories, farms under artificial sunlight, and water treatment facilities that sparkled with clean water. "Where does your power come from?" he asked. "I don't see any solar collectors on the surface." "Fusion reactors," G1 said simply. "We have 43 of them across the planet. Each one produces more power than we need. The excess goes into storage batteries and the defensive grid." Thelvas exchanged a look with his security officer. Fusion power was common in the galaxy, but 43 reactors for one planet, that was more than most council worlds had. These humans weren't just surviving. They were thriving. The transport stopped at a massive building near the center of the city. Inside, they were led to a conference room where Hyunwoo waited for them, along with 2 other humans. One was a woman with sharp eyes and a calm expression. The other was a younger woman in a white coat, clearly a scientist of some kind. "Welcome," Hyunwoo said, gesturing to seats around the table. "This is Hana, our chief strategist, and this is Minseo, one of our leading scientists. Please sit. We have much to discuss." Once everyone was seated, Hyunwoo folded his hands on the table. "I imagine you have many questions. I'll try to answer what I can. Let's start with the obvious one," Thelvas said. "How did you survive?" "The records say Earth was destroyed. The evacuation ships were never heard from again." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "Earth died when our sun expanded unexpectedly. We don't know why it happened. Some kind of stellar instability. We had less than a year's warning. In that time, humanity built 12 massive ships, each one carrying millions of people in cryogenic sleep. We launched them in different directions, hoping at least one would find a new home." "And yours found Talvor," Vesrin said softly. "Eventually," Hana added. "It took 90 years of traveling through dark space. Many people died. The ship's system started failing. When we finally found this system, we had less than 5,000 people left alive." 5,000, Thelvas thought. "And now they number in the millions." That kind of population growth was impressive, even with advanced medical technology. "Why didn't you contact the Galactic Council?" Thelvas asked. "You could have asked for help, for resources." The 3 humans shared a look. Finally, Hyunwoo spoke. "Because we learned what happened to the other ships. We picked up their signals over the years. Some were destroyed by pirates. Others were captured and their people sold as slaves. One ship contacted the council asking for sanctuary. They were told to wait while their request was processed. 3 months later, that ship was raided. Everyone on board disappeared. The room went silent." Thelvas felt uncomfortable. He knew the council's history wasn't perfect, but he hadn't heard these stories. "We decided then that we would trust no one but ourselves," Hyunwoo continued. "We would stay hidden, build our civilization in secret, and make ourselves strong enough that no one could threaten us. That's what we've done." "Show them," Minseo said quietly. "Show them what we've accomplished." Hyunwoo nodded and stood. "Come, let me show you the real Talvor." They took another transport, this time traveling for nearly an hour through the tunnel system. When they emerged, Thelvas found himself in a cavern so large he couldn't see the far wall. But it wasn't empty. The entire space was filled with ships, warships. They hung in the air, held by gravity manipulators, their hulls gleaming under the lights. Thelvas counted quickly. There were at least 30 capital-class vessels, each one larger than his own command ship. Around them, hundreds of smaller fighters and support craft were being worked on by human engineers and robots. "This is one of 3 shipyards we have in the system," Hyunwoo explained. "We've been building these ships for 70 years. Each one is equipped with weapons and shields designed specifically to counter the military technology used by the council species." "You've been preparing for war," Thelvas said, his voice hard. "We've been preparing to defend ourselves," Hana corrected. "There's a difference. We don't want to fight anyone, but we will if we have to." Minseo stepped forward, pulling out a small device from her pocket. She tapped it, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed mathematical equations and energy patterns that Thelvas didn't recognize. "This is our breakthrough in faster-than-light communication," she explained. "Your council uses relay stations to send messages across the galaxy, correct? Each message has to jump from station to station, which takes time and limits your range." "Yes," Vesrin said, leaning forward with interest. "It's one of the biggest limitations we face. Some messages take months to reach distant sectors." "We don't use relay stations anymore," Minseo said with a small smile. "We discovered a way to send messages directly through quantum entanglement, using paired particles we create in our labs. Distance doesn't matter. We can communicate with the far side of the galaxy instantly. Vesrin's eyes went wide. That's impossible. We've been trying to achieve that for centuries. It's not impossible, Minseo said. It just requires a different approach. We'd be happy to share the basic theory with the Council, as a gesture of goodwill. Thelvis realized what she was doing. She was showing them that humans had technology the Council didn't have, technology that could change everything. It was both a gift and a warning. They spent the next several hours touring different facilities. They saw massive hydroponic farms growing food in underground chambers lit by artificial suns. They visited schools where human children learned mathematics, science, and history. They watched factories producing everything from clothes to computer chips, all automated and efficient. But what impressed Thelvis most was the command center. Hana brought them to a room filled with screens and control stations. Humans worked quietly, monitoring every part of the system. One screen showed the location of every ship, satellite, and station. Another displayed energy readings from the defensive grid. A third tracked weather patterns on all 12 planets. This is where we coordinate everything, Hana explained. Every defensive system, every ship, every installation. We can see everything that happens in this system. Nothing gets past us. How many people work here? Vesrin asked. About 500 per shift, Hana replied. 3 shifts per day, and they're assisted by our AI system, which we call Guardian. AI? Thelvis said sharply. Artificial intelligence is heavily regulated by the Council. Advanced AI can be dangerous. Guardian isn't like other AI systems, a new voice said. They turned to see a man in his 40s approaching. He had tired eyes but a confident walk. I'm Byung-ho. I designed Guardian. It's not a true artificial intelligence in the way you're thinking. It's a hybrid system, part computer and part human oversight. Guardian can process millions of calculations per second and coordinate complex operations, but it can't make decisions on its own. Humans are always in control. Can we see it? Vesrin asked eagerly. Byung-ho led them to a special room where a massive computer core hummed with power. Lights flickered across its surface in complex patterns. He typed commands into a terminal and a calm voice spoke from speakers around them. Good afternoon, Byung-ho. I see we have visitors. Guardian, please provide our guests with a summary of current system status, Byung-ho said. All systems operating normally, Guardian replied. Defensive grid at full power, 52 ships currently on patrol. Air quality in all underground cities is optimal. Agricultural output exceeds current needs by 12%. No threats detected. It went on, listing details about every aspect of Talvor's operations. Thelvis felt a chill run down his spine. This system wasn't just defended. It was perfectly managed, every piece working together like a machine. As the tour ended and they prepared to return to their shuttle, Hyunwoo gathered them one more time in the conference room. I want you to understand something, he said seriously. We don't want to be enemies of the Galactic Council. We're willing to trade, to share knowledge, to maintain peaceful relations. But Talvor is ours. We built this civilization from nothing. We won't give it up and we won't let anyone take it from us. If the Council tries to claim this system by force, we will fight. And we will win. That's a bold claim, Thelvis said. It's not a claim, Hana said quietly. It's a fact. We've studied Council military tactics for decades. We know how you fight, what weapons you use, what strategies you employ. We've designed everything here to counter those strategies. If war comes, it will be bloody and costly for everyone involved. We'd rather avoid that. Thelvis looked at each human face around the table. They weren't boasting or threatening. They were simply stating reality as they saw it. These people had spent 150 years preparing for this moment. They wouldn't be easily pushed aside. I'll report everything I've seen to the Council, he said finally. What they decide to do with that information is beyond my control. We understand, Hyunwoo said. Thank you for coming with an open mind. Ji-won will escort you back to your shuttle. As they flew back up through the atmosphere toward their ship, Thelvis stared down at the planet below. From up here it looked peaceful and empty, but now he knew the truth. Beneath that quiet surface, millions of humans lived and worked, protected by technology that rivaled or exceeded anything the Council possessed. The question was, what would the Council do about it? The Council chamber on Vex Prime was enormous. Representatives from over 200 species sat in curved rows that rose up toward a domed ceiling covered in stars. At the center stood a platform where speakers addressed the assembly. Today, that platform held Commander Thelvis and every eye in the chamber was fixed on him. Let me be clear, he said, his voice amplified so everyone could hear. The humans in Talvor have technology that matches or exceeds our own in several areas. Their defensive systems are unlike anything I've encountered. Their ships are advanced. Their society is organized and disciplined. They number over 50 million across the system. A wave of shocked whispers ran through the chamber. Many representatives had heard rumors that humans survived, but hearing it confirmed was different. What do they want? Called out a delegate from the Korath Dominion, a species known for their cautious nature. Did they make demands? They want independence, Thelvas replied. They're willing to trade and maintain diplomatic relations, but they refuse to join the council or accept council authority over their system. They claim Talvor by right of settlement and development. More whispers. Several delegates looked angry at this news. The idea that a species could simply claim a resource-rich system and refuse council membership was unprecedented. From his seat in the upper tier, the Vorlax High Commander stood. He was larger than Thelvas, his armor plates decorated with medals from countless military campaigns. This is unacceptable, he boomed. No species can simply claim territory without council approval. If we allow this, others will do the same. Our authority will collapse. Perhaps, said a soft voice that somehow carried through the chamber, we should consider why they refuse to join us. All eyes turned to Elder Yisthan, the leader of the Ithran collective. She was ancient, her blue skin marked with patterns that denoted great wisdom. According to Thelvas's report, the humans have evidence that we abandoned their ancestors when they asked for help, that we failed to protect refugee ships. Is this true? An uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. Finally, one of the administrative delegates spoke up. There were incidents. In the early years of the council, security was not what it is now. Some refugee populations were lost to piracy or other dangers. We couldn't protect everyone. So they learned they couldn't trust us, Yistan said simply, and now they've made themselves strong enough that they don't need to trust us. Can we blame them? It doesn't matter if we blame them or not, the Vorlax High Commander snapped. What matters is that they're sitting on resources the galaxy needs. Talvor has rare metals, energy crystals, and strategic value. We can't just let them keep it all to themselves. Why not? Asked Vezran, who had been allowed to attend as a witness. They're willing to trade. They're not hoarding everything, and from what I saw, they're using those resources more efficiently than we ever could. Their population is growing. They need those resources too. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates argued for immediate military action. Others urged caution. A few even suggested that the council should learn from the humans rather than fight them. Finally, a decision was reached. The council would send an official diplomatic mission to Talvor, led by several senior ambassadors. This mission would negotiate terms for trade, establish boundaries, and attempt to bring the humans into the council peacefully. If negotiations failed, then the council would reconsider its options. But as the chamber emptied and delegates returned to their quarters, other conversations were happening in the shadows. In a secure room deep within the Vorlax embassy, the High Commander met with several military officers. We can't let this stand, he said flatly. If we allow humans to defy us, every minor species will think they can do the same. The Council's power depends on everyone following the same rules. What do you propose? One officer asked. The diplomatic mission will take months to organize, the High Commander said. That gives us time. I want a fleet assembled quietly, ships from different regions pulled together under the guise of military exercises. When the time is right, we'll show these humans what happens when you refuse Council authority. The Council hasn't authorized military action, another officer pointed out nervously. The Council doesn't need to know until it's done, the High Commander replied. We'll present it as a defensive measure, a show of force to encourage negotiations. But if the humans resist, we'll be ready to crush them. One way or another, Talvor will accept Council rule. Meanwhile, in the Talvor system, preparations of a different kind were underway. Tihun sat in a small office on Talvor 4, studying reports that scrolled across multiple screens. He was the head of human intelligence operations, responsible for monitoring Council communications and gathering information about potential threats. What he was seeing now worried him greatly. Hana, you need to see this, he said into his communicator. She arrived within minutes, Hyunwoo with her. They studied the intercepted messages in silence. They're planning to attack us, Hyunwoo said quietly. A faction of the Vorlax military is planning something, Taehun corrected. We don't know if the full council is behind it, but ships are being moved into position under the cover of training exercises. The timeline suggests they could strike within 2 months. Hana pulled up a star map showing the surrounding systems. Red markers indicated the locations where Vorlax ships were gathering. They're positioning themselves to cut off our escape routes. This is definitely an attack formation. Do we go public with this information? Hyunwoo asked. Not yet, Taehun said. We need more proof. Right now it just looks like military exercises. If we accuse them without solid evidence, it could push the entire council toward hostility, instead of just one faction. What about our defenses? Hana asked. Sujin is already on it, Taehun replied. In the military command center, Sujin stood before a tactical display with her senior officers. She was younger than many of them, only 37, but she had proven herself brilliant at military strategy and had earned their respect. We have to assume we'll be attacked within the next 60 days, she said. That doesn't give us much time to prepare, but it's enough. I want all defensive platforms checked and upgraded. Move the reserve fleet from Talvor 9 to the asteroid belt. Position them where they'll have clear firing lines but remain hidden. What about the Council's diplomatic mission? One officer asked. Won't they be suspicious if we suddenly increase our military presence? Let them be suspicious, Sujin replied. We're not doing anything aggressive. We're simply making sure our defenses are ready. That's our right. She turned to the communications officer. Get me Admiral Wusong. I need to coordinate ship movements with him. Wusong's face appeared on the screen moments later. He was aboard his flagship in orbit around Talvor 6, running training exercises with the fleet. I heard about the Vorlax movements, he said without preamble. What do you need? I need your ships ready for combat within 48 hours, Sujin told him. Full ammunition loads, all systems tested and certified. And I need them positioned throughout the system in a defensive pattern. Consider it done, Wusong said. What's our rules of engagement if they do attack? Defense only, Sujin replied. We don't fire first. But if they cross our defensive perimeter with hostile intent, we disable their ships. We try to minimize casualties on both sides, but we protect ourselves above all else. Understood, Wusong said, and his face disappeared from the screen. While the military prepared, Yejin worked on a different kind of preparation. As the cultural liaison officer, her job was to maintain relationships with the few alien species who had expressed interest in trading with humans. She sent careful messages to her contacts explaining that Talvor was facing potential military action from elements within the council. Some of her contacts didn't respond, but others did, expressing concern and offering support. The Ithran Collective, in particular, sent a private message stating that they would oppose any military action against Talvor. It wasn't much, but it was something. She also worked on a different project. If war did come, the galaxy needed to know why. She compiled a documentary showing Talvor's history, from Earth's destruction to their arrival in the system to everything they had built. It included evidence of the failed rescue missions, the abandoned refugee ships, and the proof that humans had tried to join the galaxy peacefully before being forced to hide. If they attack us, she told Hyunwoo, this goes out to every news network, every public channel, every data stream we can access. The galaxy will know the truth. Hyunwoo nodded approvingly. Good. We win this with more than just weapons. We win it with truth. Back on Vex Prime, the Vorlax were moving forward with their plans. Ships gathered in staging areas. Ammunition was loaded. Soldiers prepared for battle. The High Commander reviewed tactical plans that showed how they would overwhelm Talvor's defenses through sheer numbers. But some council members were growing suspicious. Elder Yisthan called a private meeting with several other delegates, including representatives from the Korath Dominion and other peaceful species. Something is happening, she said. The Vorlax are moving too many ships. This isn't normal military activity. They're planning to attack Talvor, the Korath delegate said. We've suspected it for weeks. Can we stop them? Someone asked. Yisthan shook her head slowly. Not directly. The Vorlax control too many votes in the council, but we can make it difficult for them. We can delay approvals, question their ship movements, demand explanations. We can buy the humans time. And if that's not enough, the Korath delegate asked, then we bear witness, Yisthan said sadly, and we make sure the galaxy knows the truth about what happens. In the Talvor system, final preparations continued. Byung-ho updated Guardian's combat algorithms, making sure the AI could coordinate defensive operations across the entire system. Miniseo worked with her research team to improve shield generators and weapon systems. Ji-won trained security teams for possible boarding actions if any enemy ships got through. And in the quiet moments, the citizens of Talvor went about their lives. They knew danger was coming. Their leaders had been honest about that. But they also trusted in the defenses that had been built, in the ships that protected them and in each other. 150 years ago, humanity had nearly gone extinct. They had been refugees, desperate and alone in the dark of space. Now they were a civilization, strong and united. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The storm was coming, and Talvor was ready. The warning came at 3 a.m, Talvor Standard Time. Daewon was at his monitoring station in the asteroid belt when his sensors suddenly lit up with contacts. Lots of contacts. Command, this is Observation Post 7, he said quickly into his communicator, his heart pounding. I have 70 ships entering the system. Vorlak signatures. They're in attack formation. In the command center deep beneath Talvor 4, Hana was already at her station. She had been expecting this, but seeing it actually happen still sent a chill through her. Confirm numbers, she said calmly. Confirmed. 70 warships, various classes. They're moving fast, heading straight for the inner system. Soo-jin arrived in the command center moments later, still fastening her uniform jacket. Are they responding to hails? We've sent 3 requests for them to identify themselves and state their purpose, Hana replied. No response. They're treating us as hostile. Then we treat them the same way, Soo-jin said. She turned to the communication station. Get me Admiral Woo-sung and activate the defense network. All systems to combat status. Throughout the Talvor system, invisible defenses came to life. Satellites that had been dormant began tracking the incoming ships. Weapons platforms hidden in asteroids powered up their targeting systems. And in the underground caverns of 6 different planets, human pilots ran to their ships. Woo-sung appeared on the main screen. He was on the bridge of his flagship, and behind him his crew moved with practiced efficiency. I see them, he said. They're not even trying to hide their intent. This is an invasion force. Rules of engagement, Soo-jin asked. Defend Talvor. Try to disable rather than destroy if possible. But protect our people first. They made this choice. The Vorlak's fleet continued forward, confident in their numbers and firepower. The High Commander had told them this would be easy. The humans might have some defenses, but 70 warships would overwhelm anything they could throw up. Once the humans saw the size of the fleet, they would surrender. They were about to learn how wrong that assumption was. When the Vorlak's fleet crossed the outer defensive perimeter, the first thing that happened was invisible. Gravity wells, the same kind that had stopped Thelvis's investigation fleet, suddenly appeared throughout the invasion force. Ships found their engines straining as artificial gravity pulled at them from multiple directions. What's happening? The Vorlak's fleet commander demanded as his ship slowed dramatically. Gravity wells, sir. They're everywhere. We're caught in a web of them. Before he could respond, the second wave of defenses activated. From dozens of asteroids, railgun platforms emerged. These weren't energy weapons that shields could partially block. These were physical projectiles. Tungsten rods accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic fields. When they hit hard. 3 Vorlak ships took direct hits before they even knew they were under attack. Their shields flickered and failed as the rods punched through, damaging engines and weapon systems. The ships went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Return fire, the fleet commander screamed.
Find those platforms and destroy them.
But finding them was harder than it sounded. The platforms were small, hidden among thousands of asteroids, and they kept moving. By the time the Vorlak sensors locked onto one, it had already fired and relocated. Then the drone swarms hit. Byung-ho sat in Guardian's control room, his fingers flying across the interface. On screens around him, thousands of small markers moved in complex patterns. Each marker was a drone, a small automated craft equipped with sensors and electronic warfare equipment. Guardian, execute pattern Delta 7, he said. Pattern Delta 7 executing, the AI responded calmly. The drones swarmed around the Vorlak's fleet like angry insects. Each one broadcast false signatures, making it look like there were hundreds more ships than there actually were. The Vorlak sensors went crazy, showing targets everywhere. Their targeting computers couldn't lock on because every time they tried, 10 false signals appeared. We can't see anything, the Vorlax weapons officer shouted. There are too many signals. While the Vorlax fleet struggled with the drones, the real attack began. 30 human warships, the capital-class vessels Thelvis had seen in the shipyard, emerged from their hiding spots throughout the asteroid belt. They had been there all along, their power signatures masked, waiting for this moment. Admiral Wusung stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the tactical display. All ships, this is the Admiral. We have trained for this. We know our jobs. Stay in formation and execute the plan. For Talvor. For Talvor, his crew repeated. The human ships moved with precision, their formation perfectly coordinated by Guardian's calculations and human oversight. They didn't charge directly at the Vorlax fleet. Instead, they positioned themselves at key points, creating a cage of weapons fire that the Vorlax couldn't escape from. The battle was not what the Vorlax expected. Their ships were powerful, their weapons deadly, but they had been designed to fight enemies who used similar technology. The humans fought differently. Their shields worked on different principles, absorbing and redirecting energy rather than just blocking it. Their weapons fired in patterns calculated to overwhelm specific types of defenses. More Vorlax ships went dark as their systems were disabled by precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses. Others found their shields collapsing under sustained fire from multiple directions. The humans weren't trying to destroy the ships. They were systematically disabling them, removing them from the battle without killing their crews. We need to retreat. One of the Vorlax captains called over the fleet channel. We're losing ships too fast! No! The fleet commander shouted back. We outnumber them more than 2 to 1.
Keep fighting!
But numbers didn't matter when you couldn't see your targets, couldn't maneuver freely, and couldn't coordinate your forces. The Vorlax fleet was falling apart. In the command center, Su-Jin watched the battle unfold on the tactical display. They're not retreating, she observed. Their commander is too proud. Or too afraid of what his superiors will do if he fails, Hana said. Either way, we need to end this. Su-Jin nodded and opened a channel to the Vorlax fleet. Vorlax commander, this is Su-Jin of Talvor Defense. You have lost 53 ships. Your fleet is broken. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated well. Continue fighting, and we will disable every ship you have. There is no shame in admitting you underestimated us, but there is shame in sending your people to die for nothing. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the fleet commander's face appeared on screen. He looked shocked, his confidence completely shattered. You were supposed to be easy prey. Just refugees hiding in the dark. We stopped being easy prey 150 years ago, Su-Jin said. What's your answer? The commander looked around his damaged bridge. Half his systems were offline. His fleet was scattered and mostly disabled. His weapons couldn't hit targets he couldn't see. We surrender. Smart choice, Su-Jin said. Power down all weapon systems. Remain where you are. We'll send boarding teams to secure your ships and provide medical assistance to your wounded. As the remaining Vorlax ships powered down their weapons, G1 led teams of security officers to each disabled vessel. They moved quickly but carefully, securing the ships and checking on the crews. They brought medical supplies and field doctors with them. One Vorlax soldier, injured and angry, spat at G1 as she entered his ship. You'll pay for this. The Council will send 100 fleets to crush you. G1 looked at him calmly. Maybe. Or maybe the Council will finally understand that we're not their enemy. We just want to be left alone. She gestured to one of the medics. Get him to medical. His leg is broken. The Vorlax soldier looked confused as the human medic gently examined his injury and started treatment. Why are you helping me? We attacked you. Because you're hurt, the medic said simply, and because we're not monsters. Over the next several hours, all 70 Vorlax ships were secured. Thousands of prisoners were transferred to holding facilities in the asteroid belt. These weren't cells or dungeons, but actually comfortable quarters with food, water, and medical care. The humans even provided entertainment systems so the prisoners wouldn't be bored. Su-Jin made sure that every prisoner was shown a recording. It was the documentary Ye-Jin had prepared, the one that told the story of humanity's journey. The Vorlax soldiers watched Earth's destruction. They saw the desperate evacuation ships. They heard recordings of refugee vessels calling for help and receiving none. They saw proof of ships that had been abandoned or sold into slavery. By the end, many of them were quiet and thoughtful. Some even looked ashamed. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The humans released their own version of events, including sensor logs and communication transcripts that proved the Vorlax had attacked without provocation. They also released footage of how they treated their prisoners, showing the galaxy that humans fought to defend themselves but did so with honor. On Vex Prime, the Council erupted into chaos. The Vorlax High Commander tried to claim the attack was justified, but too many delegates had evidence that it was an unauthorized action. Elder Yisthan stood before the assembly and delivered a speech that would be remembered for generations. "We call ourselves civilized," she said. "We claim to be better than the barbaric past. But what did we do when refugees came to us for help? We turned them away. We let them die. And when they survived on their own, when they built a civilization that put ours to shame, what did we do? We tried to conquer them." "The Vorlax acted alone," someone protested. "Did they?" Yisthan asked. "Where was the Council when they were gathering their fleet? Where were our observers, our intelligence services? We all knew something was happening, and we did nothing to stop it. We are all responsible." She turned to face the entire assembly. "The humans of Talvor have shown us what we should have been. They survived impossible odds. They built a society that is efficient, fair, and strong. They defend themselves, but they don't seek conquest. They disabled a fleet of 70 ships and killed almost no one. Can any of us say we would have shown such restraint?" The chamber fell silent. "It's time," Yisthan said quietly, "that we recognize Talvor for what it is. Not a prize to be claimed, but a sovereign nation deserving of respect. I move that we formally recognize the Talvor Human Collective as an independent entity, with all the rights and protections that status entails." The vote took hours, but in the end, it passed. Not unanimously, but with enough support that it couldn't be challenged. The Talvor system was officially recognized as human territory. When the news reached Talvor, people celebrated in the streets of the underground cities. They had won. Not just the battle, but the war for recognition and respect. Hyunwoo stood in his office looking at reports of the celebration. Hana stood beside him. "We did it," she said softly. "No," Hyunwoo corrected. "We survived it. Now comes the hard part. Building relationships, trading with species who just tried to conquer us, proving every day that we deserve to be here." "We will," Hana said confidently. "We always have." Outside, the celebrations continued. And in orbit, Admiral Wusong's fleet stood guard, ready to defend their home if anyone else decided to test humanity's resolve. 6 months after the battle, Hyunwoo stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber on Vex Prime. It was the first time a human had addressed the full assembly in person. He wore simple clothes, not a military uniform or fancy diplomatic attire, just a plain dark suit that represented who humans were: practical, efficient, and not interested in unnecessary display. Every seat in the massive chamber was filled. Representatives from hundreds of species wanted to see this moment. Some were curious, some were hostile, some were hopeful. All of them were watching. "Members of the Galactic Council," Hyunwoo began, his voice calm and steady. "Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I know many of you have questions about who we are and what we want. I'm here to answer those questions." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above him. It showed Earth, blue and beautiful, hanging in space. "This was our home," he said. "A world of oceans and forests, mountains and deserts. We were young as a species, just beginning to reach for the stars when our sun betrayed us. We don't know why it happened. Some kind of stellar instability that our scientists couldn't predict. We had less than a year to save ourselves." The image changed, showing massive ships being built in orbit while the sun grew brighter and more unstable behind them. "We built 12 ships, generation ships designed to carry millions of people in cryogenic sleep through the darkness between stars. We launched them in different directions, hoping that somewhere at least one would find a new home." The image showed ships leaving Earth as the sun expanded, consuming the inner planets. Some delegates looked away. Others leaned forward, drawn into the story. Only one ship made it. Mine. Our ancestors traveled for 90 years through empty space. Systems failed. People died. By the time we found Talvor, only 5,000 humans remained alive. A new image appeared showing the early settlement of Talvor, small shelters dug into rock. People in survival suits working in harsh conditions. It looked desperate and fragile. "We could have called for help," Hyunwoo continued. We could have contacted the council and asked for aid, but we learned what happened to the other ships. We monitored their distress calls. We heard them begging for rescue. We heard the silence when no rescue came. He paused, letting that sink in. We learned that some ships were attacked by pirates. Others were promised sanctuary that never arrived. One ship full of families of children simply disappeared after contacting council authorities. We don't know what happened to them. We can guess, but we don't know. The chamber was silent now. Even the hostile delegates couldn't argue with the evidence, so we made a choice. We would trust only ourselves. We would hide in Talvor, build our strength, and create a civilization that could never be destroyed again. That's what we did. For 150 years, we worked in secret. We mined resources. We built cities underground where no one would find them. We studied every piece of salvaged technology we could find and improved on it. We raised our children to be strong, smart, and united. The images changed again, showing the underground cities as they looked now. The shipyards, the farms, the schools and hospitals, the happy faces of people living their lives in safety. We didn't do this because we hate you, Hyunwoo said. We did it because we learned we couldn't depend on you. And when you finally found us, we were ready. We could defend ourselves. We could say no. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of different delegates. I want to be very clear about something. We don't want war. We don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want to threaten the council or change your government. We just want to live in peace in our own system. That's all we've ever wanted. Then why not join the council properly? Someone called out. Why refuse to follow council laws? Because we've seen where council laws lead, Hyunwoo replied calmly. We've seen bureaucracy that moves so slowly that people die waiting for decisions. We've seen corruption and incompetence. We've seen military action taken without proper authority. He glanced at the Vorlax section of the chamber. Several delegates looked uncomfortable. We're not saying the council is evil. We're saying it's flawed, and we'd rather govern ourselves. Elder Yistin stood from her seat. What are you willing to offer then? What kind of relationship do you envision? Hyunwoo smiled slightly. We're willing to trade. We have resources you need, and you have things we can use. We're willing to share some of our technology in exchange for knowledge and materials. We're willing to maintain diplomatic relations and participate in discussions about mutual concerns. We're even willing to allow council observers in our system, so you know we're not building weapons to attack anyone. But you won't accept council authority, Yistan said. No, Hyunwoo confirmed. Talvor is ours. We built it. We defend it. We govern it. That won't change. Before anyone else could speak, Hana's face appeared on a screen beside Hyunwoo. She was back in the Talvor command center and she looked concerned. Hyunwoo, we have a situation. You need to see this. Another holographic display appeared, this one showing data streams and communication intercepts. Taehoon's face joined Hana's on the screen. We've uncovered evidence of a council intelligence operation, Taehoon said. For the past year, someone has been trying to infiltrate our systems. They planted agents in several trading companies, trying to gather information about our defenses and technology. We caught them 3 days ago. A wave of shocked murmurs ran through the chamber. Hyunwoo turned to face the council leadership directly. Is this true? Were you spying on us even while negotiating peace? The head of the council security committee stood, looking uncomfortable. There may have been unauthorized intelligence gathering. Not approved by the full council, but it happened anyway, Hyunwoo cut him off. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why we can't trust council authority. You tell us one thing while doing another. Taehoon continued his report. The agents have been arrested and are being held safely. We'll return them to council custody as a gesture of good faith. But this needs to stop. If you want a relationship with Talvor, it has to be honest. Elder Yistan looked furious. This is unacceptable. The council will investigate immediately. Those responsible will face consequences. I hope so, Hyunwoo said, because we're offering you something valuable. We're offering you an example. We're showing you that it's possible to build a society that's efficient, fair, and strong without requiring everyone to follow the same rules. Diversity can be strength, but only if you let it. Over the next several hours, the council debated. Finally, they voted on a proposal that Hana had carefully drafted. The Talvor Accords, they called it. A treaty that recognized Talvor as an independent system but established trade relationships, cultural exchange programs, and diplomatic channels. The vote passed with a strong majority. Humanity had won not just recognition, but respect. Back in Talvor, the celebrations were more subdued this time. People understood that this was just the beginning, not the end. There would be challenges ahead, difficulties to overcome, relationships to build. Min Seo stood in her research laboratory, talking with a team of Ithran scientists via hologram. They were discussing her faster-than-light communication breakthrough, sharing theories and equations. It was the beginning of a scientific partnership that would benefit both species. "Your approach to quantum entanglement is fascinating," one of the Ithran scientists said. "We never thought to stabilize the particles using this method. And your work on particle physics gives us ideas for improving the system," Min Seo replied. "Together we might be able to expand the range even further." It was exactly the kind of cooperation Hyunwoo had hoped for. Not submission, but partnership between equals. Yejin worked tirelessly to establish cultural exchange programs. Young humans would travel to other worlds to study alien cultures and teach aliens about human history. It was a risk, sending their children out into the galaxy, but it was also necessary. If humanity was going to be part of the galactic community, they needed to understand their neighbors. The first group of exchange students arrived from the Ithran Collective 3 months after the Talvor Accords were signed. 20 young Ithran, nervous but excited, came to study in Talvor's universities. Yejin met them personally at the orbital station. "Welcome to Talvor," she said warmly. "We hope you'll learn a lot here. And we hope you'll teach us about your culture too." One of the students, a young female named Linsa, looked around in wonder. "I've studied humans for years, but being here is different. Everything is so organized," Yejin laughed. "When you grow up knowing that survival depends on everyone working together, organization becomes natural. Come on, I'll show you to your housing. You're going to love the underground cities." While cultural exchanges began, Admiral Wu Sung was working on a different kind of expansion. Using data gathered from council databases and their own long-range sensors, he was planning exploration missions beyond council space. "There's a whole galaxy out here that nobody's explored," he told Sujin during a planning meeting. "We shouldn't just sit in Talvor and wait for the next threat. We should expand our knowledge, find new resources, maybe even find other refugee populations that need help. Just be careful," Sujin warned. "We don't know what's out there. Could be more dangerous than the council." "That's why we're building new ships," Wu Sung said, showing her designs for vessels specifically meant for long-range exploration. Fast, well-defended, and equipped to handle unknown situations. But not everything was peaceful progress. There were still elements in the council who resented human independence. Trade negotiations were sometimes difficult. There were cultural misunderstandings. Some species feared human technology and wanted it restricted. Through it all, Hyunwoo worked to maintain balance. He traveled to different council worlds, meeting with leaders, explaining human perspectives, building relationships one conversation at a time. "This is exhausting," he admitted to Hana one evening after a particularly difficult negotiation session. "Sometimes I wonder if we should have just stayed hidden." "But then we'd always be looking over our shoulders," Hana replied. "This way we face our challenges directly. It's harder, but it's honest." 1 year after the Talvor Accords, something unexpected happened. A small species called the Vren, who controlled only 2 systems on the edge of council space, approached Talvor with a request. They were being pressured by a larger neighbor to give up their independence and join that neighbor's empire. Could Talvor help? It was the first test of what humans would do with their newfound position in galactic politics. Hyunwoo called a meeting of all Talvor's leadership. "We can't become galactic police," Daewon argued. "If we start interfering in every dispute, we'll make enemies everywhere." "But we also can't ignore species in trouble," Yejin countered. "Isn't that what happened to us? Everyone ignored our ancestors when they needed help." "The difference is we're not asking for direct military intervention," Tae-hoon said. He had been studying the Vren situation carefully. "They just want diplomatic support. Someone to stand with them in council discussions. We can do that without firing a shot." They decided to help. Hyun-woo appeared at a council session to speak in support of the Vren's right to independence. Other species, impressed by humanity's principles, joined in. The larger empire backed down, unwilling to fight a diplomatic battle it couldn't win. The Vren were grateful, and they became Talvor's first true ally in the galaxy. It was a small thing, but it showed that humans could use their strength for more than just defense. As the second year after recognition began, Talvor had become something unexpected. Not just another council member, not just a strong military power, but a symbol that showed it was possible to succeed without giving up independence, that refugees could become strong. That cooperation was better than conquest. In the underground city where the first humans had landed, there was now a museum. It displayed artifacts from the original ship, recordings of the early settlers, and the history of everything humanity had accomplished in Talvor. School children came in groups to learn about their history. Daewon often visited that museum. He would stand in front of a display showing Earth, the lost home that none of the current generation had ever seen, and think about how far humanity had come. One day, a young girl stood next to him, staring at the same display. "Do you think we'll ever go back?" she asked. "To Earth?" "Earth is gone," Daewon said gently. "The sun consumed it. There's nothing left to go back to." "Then this is our home now," the girl said simply. "Talvor." "Yes," Daewon agreed. "This is our home, and we'll make sure it stays that way." High above, in the orbital station where ships from dozens of species now docked regularly, Byung-ho was explaining Guardian systems to a group of visiting engineers from various council species. They were amazed by the hybrid approach, the way human oversight combined with computer processing to create something more effective than either alone. Could this system be adapted for other uses? One engineer asked. Not just military defense, but city management, resource coordination, that sort of thing? Absolutely, Byung-ho said. That's the beauty of it. The same principles can be applied anywhere you need complex coordination between multiple systems. We'd be happy to share the basic architecture. It was another example of how human technology was starting to influence the galaxy, not through force or conquest, but through cooperation and mutual benefit. As the sun set on Talvor 4, casting long shadows across the surface parks that humans were slowly beginning to build above ground, Hyunwoo stood with Hana on a balcony overlooking one of the underground cities. Below them, millions of people lived their lives in safety and prosperity. "Do you ever wonder if we made the right choices?" Hana asked. "If maybe we should have tried harder to join the council peacefully from the beginning." "No," Hyunwoo said firmly. "We made the only choice we could make. We protected ourselves first, built our strength, and then engaged with the galaxy from a position of power. If we had come to them as weak refugees, they would have used us or ignored us. Instead, they had to respect us. And now?" Hana asked. "Now we show them what humans can really do," Hyunwoo said. "Not just survive, but thrive. Not just defend, but create. Not just take, but give. We show them that humanity deserves its place among the stars." Far away in the darkness beyond council space, long-range sensors were picking up strange signals, unknown ships moving in patterns that suggested intelligence and purpose. It would be years before anyone understood what those signals meant, before the galaxy learned that humans and the council species weren't alone. But that was a problem for the future. For now, humanity had won its place in the galaxy. They had proven that refugees could become defenders, that the hidden could emerge into light. That strength came not from size or age, but from unity, intelligence, and the willingness to stand firm for what you believed in. Talvor stood as a beacon now, showing all the galaxy what was possible when a species refused to give up, refused to surrender, and refused to be victims. And in the underground cities, in the orbital stations, in the ships that patrolled the system, humans went about their lives, building, learning, growing, preparing for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring next. Because that was what humans did. They survived. They adapted. They overcame, and they would never hide again.